you do it from, say, Maghrib to Fajr, but then go to work because you're obligated?
Question says, is it okay to make i'tikaf for a limited period of the day or the night? Because you have to go to work, you're obligated to go to work, pay bills, take care of your family, etc. This is something that I forgot to mention in refreshing the previous 3 classes or reviewing. That it's permissible to make i'tikaf for any period of time. It's permissible to make i'tikaf for any period of time. I'tikaf, as we explained the meaning of it in the actual class, you can go back to the detailed class, is to sit in the masjid with the intention of worshiping Allah. To sit in the masjid with the intention of getting closer to Allah. So if you sat in the masjid with that proper intention for 20 minutes, for 30 minutes, for an hour, for 5 hours, that's i'tikaf. So whether you stay for all 10 nights, which is not always 10 nights. Oftentimes the last 10 nights are the last what? 9 nights. Everybody clear on this? But they call it 10, rounding off. But it's actually, it could be 9 nights or 10 nights. So if you have the intention of staying all 10 all night, alhamdulillah. I'm not going to see the daytime except for the window of the masjid. That's tayyib. But everyone doesn't have that luxury. Or everyone doesn't necessarily want to do that. You don't have to. Or you may have to prioritize. You may have something that's more important or more beneficial for the Muslims that you have to do away from the public eye. So what's important is i'tikaf. There's no limit to its time. You can make i'tikaf for an hour, for 3 hours, read the Quran, make dhikr, make tawbah, cry, make dua for Allah to bless your family, guide your family. That's tayyib. There's nothing wrong with that. What's important is the intention. The what? The intention. And there are levels in Islam. There are levels, just like the world. Some people are on a high level, gold medal. Some people get bronze medal. Bronze medal is excellent. It's not gold medal, but it's what? Bronze, serious medal, huh? Tahib. Fadl akhi. Everybody clear on that, inshallah. Fadl, bismillah.
Follow on the question. After Fajr, where you can stay on a normal day until sunrise and then pray to Sunnah, the authenticity of this hadith, and if it's correct, would that also be considered i'tikaf?
Question says, with regards to staying in the masjid from Maghrib until Fajr, after Fajr until? To Dhuhr. Shuruq. Right? Clear. It's based off of the previous answer. It doesn't just have to be at nighttime. I'tikaf can be in the daytime as well. Just like we explained that i'tikaf could be outside of Ramadan. The Prophet made i'tikaf outside of Ramadan once. Doesn't have to be in the last 10 as well. Make i'tikaf in the middle of Ramadan. Before we go further, Saeed, what's important? Some years back, we did a short video of 5 minutes of fa'idah. We were in Medina, and the name of the video was called So Many Styles. So Many Styles. And we were talking about the importance of diversifying the recommended acts and diversifying one act of ibadah that has been done by the Prophet in different ways. And we said that from the harms, we explained in Shaykh Uthaymeen's speech on this issue, from the harms of always doing it one way is that the people think that that's the only way. And it's obligatory when it's not. But it's important to mix it up and to show people that it doesn't always have to be this one way. So how weird would it look if I came here to JMIC and I said, I'm making i'tikaf and it's 3rd day of Ramadan? You guys be like, are you okay, akhi? What do you mean? There's no i'tikaf right now. I said, why not? It's the 3rd night. Maybe it's Laylatul Qadr. How would they look at me, Ali? Like I bumped my head, right? And the reason behind this is because we always do what? One thing to what? And it becomes routine. And when something is routine, you become numbed. You have no sensation by it anymore. It's a normal daily routine. Everybody clear on this? So what's important is you can do i'tikaf for a limited amount of time, even if it's in the daytime, from Fajr to Duha, Shuruq, etc. As far as the reward, the virtue of doing this, then there are many hadiths that explain the virtue of praying during this time, sitting in the masjid. The Quran teaches us about the virtue of Fajr. Allah says, أَقِمِ الصَّلَاةَ لِدُلُوكِ الشَّمْسِ إِلَى غَسَقِ اللَّيْلِ وَقُرْآنِ الْفَجْرِ. إِنَّ قُرْآنَ الْفَجْرِ كَانَ مَشْهُودًا. Allah tells the Prophet, أَقِمِ الصَّلَاةِ. He says, establish the prayer. لِدُلُوكِ الشَّمْسِ إِلَى غَسَقِ اللَّيْلِ. Allah gives us the time for the 5 prayers by looking at the natural phenomena, sun rising, sun setting. Establish these prayers from dhuhr up until the Quran, yani qira'ah, the recitation of the Fajr prayer. Because the Fajr prayer is a special time in which there are special angels that come. There are always angels among you, all the time. But there are special angels that come at special times for special reasons. So therefore, it's a blessed time, period. You asked me yesterday, hadith sahih, hadith da'if, it's a blessed time. Sitting in the masjid, the sun rises, and very importantly, brothers, is that perhaps, and Allah knows best, from the secrets behind this, is that it allows you to reflect and allows you to think deeper. You went into the masjid, it was dark outside. You left the masjid, it's bright outside. That's to mean something. Just think about that now. You go to the masjid, it's dark, Fajr. You prayed, you sat, you made dhikr, then you leave, and it's now what? That's going to have an effect on your day. It's going to have an effect on how you look and think about things. It's a whole different what? It's deep. So it's always a virtue in doing that, regardless whether this one specific hadith is authentic or not. Hajj, Umrah, the reward, whether it's authentic or not, regardless. There's always a virtue in that. There's always a what? A virtue in that. And the general authenticity of the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, hadith Abi Hurairah in the Sahih, he says, سَبْعَةٌ يُذِلُّهُمُ اللَّهُ فِي ظِلِّهِ يَوْمَ لَا ظِلَّ إِلَّا ظِلُّهُ. 7 types of people will be shaded by Allah on a day in which there's no shade except for the shade that Allah provides. And from those people, the Prophet ﷺ says, وَرَجُلٌ قَلْبُهُ مُعَلَّقٌ بِالْمَسَاجِدِ, is a man whose heart is connected to the masjid. A person whose heart is connected to the masjid. So it's never ever an issue of a person going to the masjid voluntarily, sitting, waiting, making prayer, making dhikr. It's always going to be a good thing, regardless whether this one specific issue gives this reward or what, or not. Clear, inshallah ta'ala? And Allah knows best. Tafadhal. And also, if I'm sorry, Akhi, forgive me. If there are any other questions from the sisters, if they have questions, they can write them down. We don't mind taking them as well if they have questions as well. Tafadhal, Akhi.
There are some ayat, I think it's Surah Maryam. It's related to this topic, I guess. When Maryam alayhi salam, she prays to Allah about her child. Is that also related to this another?
طيب. إِنِّي نَذَرْتُ لِلرَّحْمَنِ صَوْمًا. Allah says that I've made, Allah says, speaking on tongue, that I've made a vow to do what? Not to speak to a what? Any human being on this day. That is something that the Prophet ﷺ has brought us. So Maryam said, but that was from her time and her legislation and her rules. And the Prophet ﷺ, he informs us, and the Quran informs us in chapter 5, is that each and every prophet has his own specific way, has his own specific rule. Now just stay with me for a second. There's a hadith that says, that the Prophet ﷺ says, إِنَّا مَعَاشِرَ الْأَنْبِيَاءِ إِخْوَةٌ لِعَلَّاتٍ. He says, the prophets and the messengers, the assembly of prophets, we are sons of one father with different mothers. We are the sons of one father with different mothers, meaning that our general message is all the same, and that's tawheed and submission to Allah. But the specifics of our message, how many prayers we make, is it permissible for a person to do this or do that, to fast from speaking or not? That pertains to prophet, messenger to messenger. Like if you had a different mother, the same father. So you generally look like your father. You generally have the build of your father or the complexion of your father, generally. But because you have a different mother from your other half-brother, there are certain things that are going to be what? Different. Even though you originally what? One. So this hadith teaches us that the Prophet, he says that the prophets, their message in general is what? The same. But the specifics of those rules and legislation is what? varies from prophet to prophet. Varies from what? Prophet to prophet. So therefore, the fact that we have specific proofs that a person is not allowed to do this, a person doesn't say he can take the generality from the Quran. Okay? Or Musa alayhi salatu wasalam. Allah tells us about how they were ordered to kill themselves. فَقُتُلُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ ذَلِكُمْ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ عِنْدَ بَارِئِكُمْ فَتَابَ عَلَيْكُمْ. They had to kill themselves. They had to commit suicide. And no Muslim is going to say that it's from the deen to take a dagger to your belly and commit suicide. That was specific to the Israelites during their time with the explicit direction from their prophet. The Prophet ﷺ, he brought us a legislation. Anyone who kills himself will be punished in the fire of hell forever. If you drink poison, you'll keep drinking the poison. If you throw yourself from a tower, you'll continue to throw yourself from that tower. And if you stab yourself, you'll continue to stab yourself in the fire of hell. So this is a general rule that is extremely important and practical for the everyday Muslim. Is the general proofs and evidences of the previous prophets and messengers. Sometimes we do the same thing. And it's a rule for us. And there are other times in which the prophet abrogates those things. Don't kill yourselves. Don't refrain from speaking from day to the night, etc. Whether it's pertaining to this issue or any other issue in the Quran. Clear on that? And Allah knows best. Fadal Akhi.
Is there a limit to compliance with the answered prayer from Allah? For instance, you made an itikaf, and whilst in itikaf, your prayers have been answered. And you also made a financial vow. But you realize that that vow cannot be fulfilled within that time.
Clear.
Are you allowed to fulfill it whenever you can?
Clear. Question is, when you make a vow to Allah, a financial vow, you're going to make a donation for the sake of Allah, but it's a bit difficult for you. Can you fulfill it anytime, etc.? It depends on what you said. If you vowed to give wealth for Allah's sake and you put a specific period of time on it, then that's one thing. If you left it open in general, then whenever you get that wealth, whenever you have the ability to spend it, and if you die and you didn't spend it, then that's something which is upon you. It's a debt that you have with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is why the scholars of Islam, they say that a person should not make abundant vows and oaths. A person, a servant, should not put things that are not obligatory upon him upon himself. He should avoid this in general. He should avoid this what? In general. If you wish to spend or pray or fast or make hajj, then just do it. Just do it. But to make it on yourself or put it on yourself, they say you should be mindful of this. But if you choose to do it, that's fine. But you have to do what? You have to fulfill it. So it depends on the time. You may make a vow to make hajj. It doesn't have to be next year. It could be in 10 years. It could be in 20 years. But whenever you have the ability to do so. Clear on that? And inshallah, Allah knows best. Khair, fadal akhi. What hand we raise when we ask questions? Always the yameen, huh? Always the right hand. Fadal Ali.
So you make the intention to stay with God for 10 nights, and then something comes up, and you have to leave. Would you still be rewarded for your intention?
Question says, you make the intention to make itikaf for the last 10, but something comes up and you have to leave. Will you still be rewarded? If a person made a serious intention, and he was honest with himself and with Allah, that he was going to do it, and there was an emergency, a problem came up, and he couldn't do it, then perhaps, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, he will get the reward in full, bi'idhnillah. And if not, then inshallah ta'ala, hopefully he'll be rewarded for his general intention. The Prophet ﷺ, he told the companions, one day they were traveling, and he says, Inna rijalan bil madinati. He says, there are men behind us in Medina. Every step you make, every valley that you cross, for Allah's sake, he says, إِلَّا شَرَكُوكُمْ فِي الْأَجْرِ. He says that they're partners with you in the reward. And they're on their beds in Medina. حَبَسَهُمُ الْعُذْرُ وَفِي رِوَايَةٍ حَبَسَهُمُ الْمَرَضُ. He says they're sick and they're ill. They couldn't go out with us. But their intention, if they had good, strong bodies, they would physically what? Go out. So if you're truthful with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you're serious, and then something prevents you from doing that, then maybe that's how you'll get that reward. You do that, you'll get that reward. What I would advise you to do, or anybody else, is to make it clear the importance and the seriousness of itikaf. The seriousness of itikaf. If it's not an emergency, akhi, please don't call me. If it's not an emergency, you tell your wife, your children, please don't call me if it's not an absolute emergency. If it's something that you can do, allow me to have this time. Bidnillah subhanahu wa ta'ala, prioritize. But if it's an emergency, it's an emergency. And inshallah, you get the reward for that. Bidnillah ta'ala. And Allah knows best. Khairan inshallah. Fadal akhi.
Yes, sir. I have a question. Before the question that was just asked, you mentioned prophets and messengers. It seems that I hear that I'm pretty much new to Islam.
Okay.
I shahada a little over a year ago.
Alhamdulillah. Welcome. What's your name, akhi?
Bernard.
Bernard. Muhammad. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, sir. My question is, it seems I hear at times the two are mentioned kind of simultaneously, a prophet and a messenger. It's a two-part question I have. The first part is, can you explain to me, please, the difference? I believe I know, but I'd like to make sure that I'm understanding correctly. The difference, now of course, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, that and the higher messengers, the higher prophets, like Isa and Muhammad.
Okay.
But then you mentioned Miriam and Abraham and people like this. They're also prophets, but not messengers.
Crystal clear. Question is crystal clear. Crystal clear. Question is regarding prophets and messengers. We have several different issues in this question. And this one question could be done in a seminar, literally. What makes a prophet? What makes a messenger? What are the differences between the two? And the higher prophets and messengers, ulul azm, the messengers of great resolve. Was Maryam a prophet? A person who got revelation from Allah? Are they prophets, etc.? That's the question, correct?
Yes, sir.
Clear. Okay, the first point is a prophet and a messenger. Let's start off with the parallels. The things in which a prophet and a messenger are the exact same in. Number one, they're going to be human beings. Not angels, not jinn, shayateen, demons. And they're going to be men. They're going to be male. They're not going to be females. Why is that? Is that fair? We're not getting into that right now. This is the parallel. All the prophets and messengers are male human beings. Number two, the prophets and the messengers, they're going to be men who received revelation from Allah. Allah gave them wahi, inspiration, divine inspiration. Number three, the third parallel, the consistency of a prophet and a messenger, is they were commanded to go to the people. They were ordered to go out and propagate the message. Now, the first inconsistency, the difference between a prophet and a messenger, is that a messenger receives a kitab. He receives his own book, like the Quran, like the Gospel, like the Torah. And a prophet comes to reinforce, to reestablish the previous kitab. The previous book. Meaning the rules are going to stay the what? Same. But he's sent as a deputy. He's sent to reinforce the previous message. But a messenger is one who gets revelation and he has a whole new set of laws. A whole new, a leap in the chronological order of prophets and messengers. You clear on that?
Yes, sir.
So we have prophets and then we have messengers. A messenger is Noah. He was a messenger and he was a prophet. You can't be a messenger unless you're first a what? A prophet. Clear on that? And then we have someone, let's say for example, Idris. إِنَّهُ كَانَ صَدِّيقًا نَبِيًّا. He's a truthful prophet, but he wasn't a messenger. And from among the messengers, as you mentioned, Bernard, they are the top messengers. And those are the people whom Allah called ulul azm. He called the men of determination. In other words, messengers that suffered a lot, that struggled a lot, that did a major service to their people and those who are around them. And Allah had given them a special status, and there are five. There's Noah. There's Abraham. There's Musa, Moses. There's Isa, Jesus. And there is Muhammad. These five are they're the chief messengers. They're the what? The chief messengers. As far as Maryam, Mary, or the mother of Moses, وَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَىٰ أُمِّ مُوسَىٰ and أَرْضِعِيهِ. Allah, He mentions this. Maryam, we mention her. Then there's Musa's mother. Allah tells us that وَأَوْحَيْنَا فَأَوْحَيْنَا, we gave them, we sent revelation. It doesn't mean that they become prophets and messengers. And it could be a servant of Allah whom Allah chooses to give inspiration and knowledge and teachings, but it doesn't mean they reach the level of a what? Of a prophet. Let's make an example of this. This is just an example, a parable to understand it. Let's say baseball. You have the major leagues and you have the minor leagues. And then you have leagues beneath the minor leagues. You have softball. And then you have someone who just goes to the diamond to throw around and, you know, stay in shape. Him and his son. And then you have the professional baseball player. And then you have the great, the elite baseball player, the Hall of Fame baseball player. He's at the top. And the one who plays on a minor league farm, he's a pitcher. He's a player as well, but he's not what? That high. But all of them have a parallel. They all play what? Baseball. They all have uniform. They all wear cleats. They're all good. They're all in shape. But it's not like the one who's a what? Wow, I get that. And the same applies to Al-Islam. So in Islam, we have people that got revelation from Allah, and they're not prophets and they are not messengers. Some people say that Adam alayhi salam, the first man that Allah made, Allah taught him the knowledge of everything. Some people say that Adam wasn't a prophet. And that's not a far-fetched argument, because there's no super strong proof to support that he was a prophet. And Allah taught him things directly. He created him with his own hands, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everybody clear on this? So just because a person gets revelation doesn't mean that they're what? A prophet. You clear on that? So therefore there are consistencies and parallels, and there are things which are inconsistent. Things in which a messenger exceeds a prophet, and there are things in which the top 5 messengers exceed the rest of the messengers. But they all have a status with Allah, and they all have an importance with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hopefully that answers the question.
Excellent.
Alhamdulillah.
Please forgive me.
No problem.
When I first asked, I mentioned perhaps it could be a 2-part question.
You sure did.
Yeah. So my second part of the question is, and this is where it gets a little tricky for me personally. I've been told by more than one brother that in modern times, in these days we live in 2018, that there are no prophets anymore, that there are no one. Now I understand that on the level that you expounded on. Obviously there's no more need for any more messengers, because Muhammad, peace be upon him, was the last of God's high messengers. But is it possible that there are men alive today who Allah does give revelation to, or men alive today who Allah maybe, because they drew so nigh to him, that he drew nigh back on a similar level, where he's communicating with this person for good?
Clear. Crystal clear.
Is that possible?
Crystal clear. The question is it possible for someone today to be a prophet, for someone today to get revelation from Allah, for someone today to have a close relationship in which Allah teaches this person and instructs this person with things? Is that possible today? My answer, Brother Bernard, is no and yes. No and yes. Someone being a prophet, a nabi. Let's not even use the word in English, prophet. Let's use the word in Arabic, nabi. For someone to be a nabi in 2018 or 2017 or 2020, we believe as Muslims, impossible. Impossible. And anyone who believes that there is a nabi in our modern times, and he believes that openly and publicly, clearly, without any type of interpretation, then that person has left the fold of Islam, because he has rejected Allah and he's rejected the words of the Messenger of Allah, that there's no Nabi after me. Clear on that? As far as if a person means, whether he uses the word prophet linguistically or not, a man of God, a woman of God, they're close to Allah, they have knowledge of the deen, they're righteous, and Allah shows them things and gives them things and teaches them things, then I would say yes. And perhaps the key to this issue is understanding that revelation from Allah is of different types. Different types. Revelation doesn't have to be direct communication with Allah. Revelation doesn't have to be legislation. Muslims must pray 5 times a day. It doesn't have to be that. Rather, our Prophet Muhammad teaches us is that there are times in which Allah taught him things in a dream. A dream. There are times in which Allah taught him things, not through Jibreel, not by him speaking to the Prophet directly, but through a dream. He sees something in a dream, and he wakes up, something happens, he does something, and that's the manifestation, that's the interpretation of the dream. So in 2018, could it be someone who's close to Allah, and he has a vivid dream? A dream in which he may even see Allah, in which the person may see Allah in the dream. The ulama of Islam, the ulama of Sunnah, they say that's not impossible. غير مستحيل. Shaykh Islam Taymiyyah they deal with this. It's not impossible. A person gets something in a dream in which gives him general instruction and general guidance or motivation. That's possible. But Allah told me that I have to do this. I can't do that. I don't have to pray. I don't have to fast. I can do this. You say no, 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 and no. That's impossible, and that doesn't take place. Now one may say, or Bernard, you may say, well, if the Prophet died over 1,000 years ago, isn't there a need for another prophet, perhaps? The reason why Muhammad was sent may exist today. People are lost. They're confused. Spiritually, economically, financially, this, that. The people, they need guidance. We say that's true. However, the prophet's prophecy and his message was so special is that nothing can come close after him. Like sports, when they retire someone's what? Jersey. No one in Chicago is going to have the number what? 23. How many years may come after him? How many people will play that position? They may want to have that number. They say he was so special, no one can have what? There's no 23 anymore. Why? Why can't it be another 23? Because he was so what? He was that special. Eternalized. Clear on this? Makes sense? But are there going to be great players, great 2 guards, great point guards, great centers, great this? Of course they're going to be. As long as the Chicago Bulls franchise exists. There's always going to be a need for a great player. They compare LeBron to Jordan, but there'll never ever be another what? 23. So that's what we believe, that his message was so powerful, so special, so unique, is that it will be disrespectful for someone to come out and to be after Muhammad. But people who are his disciples, those who learnt his way, who take his way, who take his role and fulfill his role, we believe that that will never, ever stop. There are always going to be Muslim men and women who are guided, who are naed to Allah, naed to God. And Allah from time to time may give them certain things. Lahumul bushra. Allah says, Ala inna awliya Allah la khawfun alayhim wa la hum yahzanun. Alladhina amanu wa kanu yattaqun. Lahumul bushra fil hayati dunya wa fil akhirah. La tabdila li kalimati Allahi dhalika huwa al-fawz al-azim wa la yahzunka qawluhum. Inna al-izzati lillahi jami'an. Allah says, indeed, the awliya. And this word awliya in Arabic, Bernard, is a plural of the word wali. And the wali, in the language of the Arabs, it means many things. A wali means a friend. A wali means an ally, a protector. I protect you, you protect me, we protect each other. A word wali is someone who's nigh and close to me. So Allah says that the walis, the awliya of Allah, they'll never suffer fear, nor will they suffer grief. They won't worry about the future, and they won't be afraid or terrified and traumatized by the past. Who are these people, one may ask? Allah says, الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَكَانُوا يَتَّقُونَ. The friends of Allah and the protected servants of Allah are only 2 people, 2 types of people, no third. They have these 2 descriptions. الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. They had iman. وَكَانُوا يَتَّقُونَ. And they had taqwa. They feared Allah. They obeyed Allah. They worshipped Allah. What about a man or a woman, white or black, Arab, not an Arab, young, old, rich, poor, aristocrat, peasant? None of those things are included in what Allah says. And Allah says about these people, لَهُمُ الْبُشْرَى فِي الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ. They will have glad tidings in this life and in the next life. And that glad tidings could be through a dream. That glad tidings could be through a motivation of one's heart, being firm upon the deen, being guided. And it lies no doubt that Allah will show his slaves certain things. But revelation and the meaning of Muhammad or Isa or Musa, we don't believe that. And we believe that is apostasy, to believe that, and that's blasphemous. To say that there's a man or a woman who is a prophet in that meaning. If you mean a scholar, a warrior in Islam, someone who's teaching the message of Muhammad, who's spreading on the legacy, then that will continue to exist until the end of time. That will continue to exist to the what? Towards the end of time. Everybody clear on this? Inshallah. Make sense? Yes. Don't forget about the number what? 23. The jersey is retired, is never ever what? Worn by another what? Player on that team. Make sense? Make sense? Alhamdulillah.
I'm going to have to retire both those between LeBron and
Abu Yahya.
What's your advice on the, like, in general, more concentrated on time, how to
manage time?
Yeah, and you make plans sometimes, but you fail to implement them.
Clear. Question is regarding advice on time. How does a person manage his time and to realize the importance of time, and so on and so on and so forth? I was asked this question many times before. And I've also spoken this issue many classes, khutbahs, and lectures, the importance of time. I would say there are many ways of looking at it. One way of looking at it is from the Quran, from the Sunnah, and obviously, like we always try to do, we can look at it from a worldly example, a worldly parable, in which that's permissible. As far as the Quran, then Allah Azza wa Jalla, He informs us that everyone will be a loser. No one will win, except for a certain amount of people or a certain type of people. And the proof that Allah uses is that He swears by al-asr, time. Wal-asr. Allah says by time. Inna al-insana lafi khusr. Man is in loss. And that isn't the same as Allah saying, those who believe, those who do righteous deeds, those who advise each other, those who are patient with each other, they will win and the others will be losers. There's a difference. Everyone in the masjid is sitting down except you. That's not the same as saying you're standing and everyone's sitting. That's a whole different style. Allah, He says that man will be in loss. Man who has this technological breakthrough, this advancement in medical science, this amount of wealth, this amount of children, this power, this, everyone is a loser, except. And Allah Azza wa Jalla, He chose to swear by time. And that's because time is the greatest thing that man has been given by Allah. Because with time, you worship Allah. And through worshiping Allah, you go to Jannah. Udkhulul Jannah, Allah says, enter paradise, biman kuntum ta'malun, because of what you used to do. So time is the greatest gift of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Clear on this? So how to manage time is to realize that it's a great thing, rather the greatest thing. Now, I want to move on to the worldly example. Do you consider Poland Spring to be the highest quality of spring water? You don't. Do you think it's a good water? In the middle, maybe not too bad, but definitely not great, right? Is it even spring water? What's important is you don't consider it to be the highest grade, the finest type of spring water, correct? What are the things that you would, or how would you determine if you just saw it for the first time that it's not the best spring water? The plastic, the container, the vessel, i.e. the more expensive the water, then the vessel, the container is going to be what? It's going to be what? It doesn't have to be glass, it's going to be what? It's going to be higher, it's going to be fancier, it's going to be finer. It could be glass, it could be carton. People drink water out of carton. Everybody understand this? It could be even in plastic, but just a higher grade of what? Of plastic. The more expensive the water, the what? The thing that carries it. So from the things which allow you to realize how great a thing is by what? That which holds it. Everybody clear on this? So before you get into managing your time as a student, of a teacher, as a father, you have to realize that time is solid gold. And it's impossible for me to have solid gold and carry it in a plastic bag. It's impossible to have solid gold and leave it on the table, to neglect it, to abandon it. It's impossible. Unless you're either a fool or you don't believe that it's actual solid gold. But if you knew it was top notch, you wouldn't put it in this type of plastic. If you knew it was top notch, you would never leave the door unlocked to your treasure because you know it's that valuable. So the first step in managing time is to realize that time is what? That golden. And how do you get this? Through the Quran, as we just said. The Prophet's words regarding time. He has informed us towards the end of time, time will become very short. A day will feel like an hour. A month, a year, it goes by, it flies. Many hadiths about time. And also just looking at life. Just look outside. Look at yourself. You have a child now, right? You remember when you were single, you weren't married? Now look. Remember when you were a young boy? You had no hair on your face? Now look. Remember this older brother in the masjid? This person, this grandfather, this grandmother used to play with you. Now look, the person may not be there anymore. Just reflect. Just think about the world and think about time. So you have to realize what you have first. Secondly is, oftentimes, you need to have what? Clarity. Sometimes it's too much clutter. You have too many things that you're doing in one day. Too many things you're trying to accomplish in 1 hour. Just focus on one thing. Spearhead your efforts. Master one thing and then move on to something else. Sometimes if you multitask too much, you feel that you can't manage it. There's not enough time. You become frustrated and you end up quitting and giving up. That's why you should focus on what? One thing at a time. Everybody clear on this? Last but not least is how to manage your time. There are steps. Reading those different books that they have in Barnes and Nobles, it's okay. But oftentimes it's full of a lot of fluff and a lot of romance in those books. And oftentimes it's not that difficult to just make a simple basic schedule and stick to it and know yourself. I don't have the ability to do what he does. Don't compare yourself to others all the time. This is my life. This is my schedule. For me to read 1 page of Quran every day consistently, it's better to read 2 juz in Ramadan every day and then abandon it until next Ramadan. So you have to be realistic with yourself. And also go back to those lectures that we've done in which we've answered this question in detail. How to manage time, how to utilize time, especially when it comes to studying and seeking ilm. As far as if you make a plan and it doesn't work out for you, then what we mentioned in the lesson last night. First and foremost is that you have to humble yourself. We become too full of ourselves. We become too independent. We think that we can do everything ourselves. Allah is in control. And nothing is going to happen unless Allah wills. We know this as Muslims. We say this with our tongues. But our actions oftentimes betray us. And it proves otherwise. That we actually think that we are in control and we have the ability to do this and do that. So sometimes Allah may decree something for you to humble you and to realize how much you need Him. It doesn't mean that you're supposed to be irresponsible. It doesn't mean that you blame it on what was decreed. It doesn't mean that you don't try your best, but to realize that it's deeper than what you actually do. Plan, try your best to execute it in the most perfect manner possible, and the rest is upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The rest is upon what? Allah Azza wa Jalla. Allah told Mother's Musa to take the young boy, and put him in the second largest river in the world. After the Amazon, the Nile is the largest river. Take him, put him in a box, and he's going to come back to you safely. Who's going to look after the boy? How is he going to get? And look how profound the story is. The greatest danger upon Musa was who? Pharaoh. And he grew up and he was raised in the house of Pharaoh. And he remained safe. And not only was he safe, وَجَعِلُهُ مِنَ الْمُرْسَلِينَ. Allah says, إِنَّ رَدُوهُ إِلَيْكِ. We will give him back to you in safety, and he'll be a messenger. She put her trust in who? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there was nothing more that she can do. So try your best, strive, but don't ever think and feel that you are going to do it just because you planned perfectly. And history teaches us this. People make things, they do things, they plan things, and it crashes or explodes or doesn't sell or doesn't work. It's deeper than that. So that's brief and general advice, huh? Allah knows best. Fadal akhi.
There's 2 questions from the sisters.
Okay.
First is, given that obligatory acts, the reward is greater than voluntary acts, if you made the vow, or what was an voluntary act? And
You made the vow?
Yeah, you made the vow that you're going to...
Clear.
Is the reward the same?
Is the reward the same?
Yeah. Would the reward be like if you had done that obligatory? I don't know the point. It's not that is like once it becomes obligatory, That's what the word, yeah.
Clear. Tight. With regards to making a vow, and obviously the vow that you made is something that's not obligatory.
Yeah.
But once you've made the vow, it's now obligatory. Is it the reward or the same reward as the fard? The fard is the fard. And there's nothing like the fard, ever. You've made it fard upon yourself, but it isn't what Allah sent down and what Allah legislated to be fard. So from one aspect, no. But you fulfilling it and you taking it upon yourself an extra voluntary step, it's a tremendous reward in that. But the hadith clearly mentions is that my slave cannot draw himself closer to me except through مِمَّا افْتَرَضْتُهُ عَلَيْهِ, what I've made fard upon him. And Allah did not make this extra act of fasting or hajj fard. So it's a tremendous reward in that. So much of a reward that Allah, He praised the people who do that in the Quran. He praised them and He lauded them. But the fard is always going to be the greatest thing.
And the second question the sister wants to know, it was based on yesterday. Her second rak'ah is the Imam's third rak'ah, and she has to do the tashahhud, and the Imam stands up. What is she?
With regards to your second rak'ah being the Imam's third rak'ah, the Imam is standing up, you're supposed to sit down. It's like we said, the Imam, he bears that responsibility. And there are certain responsibilities that you have as a person who's praying that are overlooked, that are dwarfed by the greater concept, which is to follow the Imam. The Prophet ﷺ, he says, إِنَّمَا جُعِلَ الْإِمَامُ لِيُؤْتَمَّ بِهِ. The Imam is only placed to be followed. It's the only reason why there's an Imam, for there to be leadership. So therefore, there are certain things that are individual obligations. But the moment you're following behind the Imam, those things are dwarfed now, they're overshadowed. And the importance of following the Imam takes precedence over a smaller importance. And from that is tashahhud. So the Imam is standing up, you're supposed to make tashahhud. You don't have to anymore. And the same applies to catching the Imam while he's in the ruku' and you want to recite the Fatiha. These things, they're overshadowed by the greater concept, which is following the what? The Imam. Clear on that? And that applies to any other situation in which you're supposed to be saying something, but there's no time because you're following the Imam. And Allah knows best. Fadl.
Recently, one non-Muslim asked me a question that why like these young kids, so they got so much pain, cancer, what they have done. So
Clear. The question is regarding why we see so much suffering in the world. A young baby has cancer. This person is born deformed. They suffer, and so on and so forth. So how can there be God, basically? Or how can Islam be true? And look what has been decreed. Perhaps? Tayyib. I would say, with regards to someone who's an atheist, or agnostic, but let's say someone who's an atheist. And this person says, religion is false. And the proof that it's false is that there's so much suffering in the world. You Muslims say that God is most merciful, most compassionate, most kind. There isn't a living creature who moves, who walks, except that Allah provides for it. So how is this person starving? These people die from famine, etc. In the beginning, you may say to this person, it's a good argument. It's a strong argument, a strong blow that you're throwing. But oftentimes the energy that is used for an aggressive blow is used to take that person and use against that person. The force that you come with is going to be reversed upon you. And that is because for you to say that there's suffering, there's misery, there's pain, that means that it what? No. That it shouldn't be misery and suffering and pain. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. So they're comparing something to what? There you go. What it should be like. There should be mercy. There should be food. A person, a child, a baby should be born with all of his faculties functioning. How do you know that there are people who eat and drink and people who are safe and people who aren't raped and murdered and molested? How do you know this? Where does this exist? Except in the where? Where do these things exist, Bernard? They exist where? No. They exist in the world in which we live. They exist in the what? The world in which we live. So the proof that you're saying that God doesn't exist, in actuality is a proof that what? God does exist. Because you didn't know that this is bad or wrong or suffering, except that you saw, heard, and felt, which was what? The opposite. So your argument in actuality is against you. The argument is what? You get it? Abdul, you get it? Your argument is what? It's against you. Because you have to compare it to something. You have to do what? You're comparing it to something. It's not supposed to be like this. How do you know what it's supposed to be like? Unless that there are many people who do live like what? Like that. So why? But why are people suffering? Why are people starving and dying? Well, how does this little kid was molested and tortured? Where was God there? The energy that you use to challenge God and to ask him why is the energy that you're supposed to use to think, to reflect, to ponder, to be grateful, and for you to strive to make it that way. Clear on this? So every proof that they use to deny is going to be a proof in actuality what? Against them. Or you just tell them, okay, no problem. If God doesn't exist because people are starving, then you should starve yourself to death. Don't eat. Don't eat. Don't enjoy anything. You understand this? So Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, he taught us wit and he taught us wisdom. In several places in his stories, one of the most commonly and frequently mentioned prophets. When his father asked him, let's go out to the festival, let's go out and worship with the rest of the people, he lied to his father. And he's told his father that he was sick and he was ill. Only Allah knows what is included in that of a subtle wisdom. I'm sick, I can't go out. Why didn't the idols cure him? The gods cure him and heal him and so on and so forth. How did he even get sick in the first place? What's important is that he used some type of guile. He used a tact. I'm sick, I can't go. And then he smashed the idols, he destroyed the idols, and he took the axe, and he hung the axe on the neck of the greatest, largest idol. And he said, who did this to our idols? Who desecrated our sacred idols? And they said, it was a young man who was speaking ill of them. His name was Abraham. And when they asked him, Abraham, he says, I didn't do it. He said, the what? The big idol did it. He lied again to teach them and to show them that something was seriously what? Mentally. He outwitted them. He outsmarted them. So this is how dawah is supposed to be. When you're talking with someone who doesn't agree on the principle that you're upon, you have to get them to a general principle, and oftentimes you have to get them by outwitting them. People are suffering in the world, but everyone isn't suffering in the world. People are being oppressed in the world, but not everyone. Be grateful that you're not being oppressed and you're not suffering. And that's the proof that God does exist. And he favored you. As it clearly mentions in the Quran, that Allah causes people to smile and he calls people to cry. So the Quran, common sense, what you see in your eyes, it all goes hand in hand. And last but not least, you're making a movement against the existence of God, but you enjoy the things that those other people aren't enjoying. That doesn't make any sense. A true advocate of any cause is going to do what? He's going to suffer like the people what? Are suffering. And this is the first thing that people say to a missionary. They go to their poor country. Well, we don't see you living in a tent. We don't see you eating this food that we're eating. We don't see you suffering. You live in an air-conditioned trailer. You have all types of shoes and gadgets and technology. Anyone a true missionary or even a person on a humanitarian project, you'll find them, they go and they mix with the people of the village and they become sick and they get sick and they eat their food and they sleep on the floor. And the people of the village, they love that person. But the one who just comes, gives them a message and leaves, they won't accept them like that. Because they're going to say your statement and your action are like night and day. Everybody clear on this? And that's the same applies to atheists. You have to use what? Got to be smart, got to be quick. Clear, inshallah? And Allah knows best. Fadl, Ameen.
Drawing from your succinct description of your dreams, what's the judgment on dreaming about the dead?
Clear.
Because you used to talk about in 2018, 2017, there could be
clear.
A valid dream.
The question is regarding dreams and seeing someone who's dead in a dream. What is the validity of that? What's the interpretation of that, etc.? Before we move forward, we have to understand one of the most special principles of the deen is dream interpretation. And that was the virtue of Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam. That was supposed to be his ticket out of jail. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ghalibun ala amrihi. Most men know not that what Allah wills is going to take place. Ibrahim was supposed to leave the prison. He says, remember me, the one who had the specific dream, and he forgot. And he stayed in prison, many, many years afterwards. So a dream interpretation is very special. And that's because it's a link and it's a bridge between two contrast worlds. The world of wakefulness and the world of sleep. And when you sleep, you can do all types of things that you can't do when you're awake. That's why any dream interpreter in any society is going to be valued. Whether you call that person a shrink, whether you call that person a gypsy, whether you call that person a spiritual guide, a healer, a telepath, anyone that has that type of special ability to link this world with another world, the people are going to hold in what? High esteem. Whatever name they give the person. We can agree on this or not. How much money do you pay when you go to see someone for therapy? For an hour, for 30 minutes, say it. How much?
200.
Everybody understand this? And all they may do is just ask you basic questions with a pen and a pad, and they act like they're listening to you. Okay, tell me more. Really? You go see the lawyer. All right?
Take this method.
Okay, and that's it. So therefore, a dream is important in Islam. But everything that you see in your sleep doesn't mean it's from Allah. Everything that you see in your sleep doesn't mean it's true and accurate. Rather, dreams are of three types. There's a dream that is true from Allah and has an interpretation and a meaning. There's a dream that you see because of your subconscious. You're thinking about something. You miss someone. You're afraid of someone. You yearn for something or some person. And the mind is a very complex thing that Allah has made. You may see something 5 years ago, 3 years ago, 10 years ago, and you may think about it later on. Deja vu, whatever you want to call it. Nostalgia, whatever you want to call it. The mind is very, very, very complex, layered thing. Everybody clear on this? Those who study this professionally, they can speak on this even more than I can. And then there's some things that you may see from a dream, and where shaitan is trying to make you sad. He's trying to make you afraid. He's trying to make you fearful. He's trying to shake you up. Regardless of whether you had a bad dream, a nightmare, you ate something late at night, or whether someone is using some type of sihr, sorcery on you. But everything that you see in your dream doesn't mean it's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So first and foremost, you have to pinpoint what the dream was about. And from the ways of determining that a dream is a true dream and it's from Allah is that it's vivid. It's vivid, it's crystal clear, it's sharp. And it's not a mixture of things. It's not something which is totally untangible, something that doesn't make sense. It's a cocktail of things. Oftentimes that's from your subconscious or from the shaitan. But a dream that was crystal clear and it gave you a feeling and also based off of your lifestyle. If you live as a truthful person, you'll see truthful dreams. You live as a liar, you live as a person who has a double standard, hypocritically, that's what you may see in your dreams. So dream interpretation in Islam is a detailed system, just like fiqh or tafsir. There are rules, there are principles, there are books, and there are scholars for dream interpretation. What's important is that there are general principles. If you see someone dead in a dream, it means this in general. If you see water in a dream, if you see an animal in a dream, if you see salt in a dream, someone pours salt on you, there's general rules. But just like when you go to the doctor, there's one sickness, it shares symptoms with 20 other sicknesses. And that's why when you read on Google, I have this rash, I have this bump, I have this pain. You read it, it says this article can never do without what? The consultation of a what? Of your physician. Because you have a specific lifestyle. So you saw something that someone else saw. The general rule, it means poverty is going to come to you. Or affluency is going to come to you. But I talk to you, you explain to me your lifestyle, and I say, no, that's not what your dream means. There's a tailor-made interpretation. Just like the tailor-made what? Suit. Exactly. Tailor-made what? Tailor-made suit. But there's general concept of a waist, a length, width. But you may want your pants like this, and your belt like that, and your shirt like that. So dream interpretation is not open for every single person. There are general principles, yes. But the specifics, they have to be learnt through the detailed science of ilm al-ta'bir. And that's one of the branches of the sciences of the deen. You read Sahih Bukhari, you read the books of Hadith, and you'll find a chapter on dream interpretation. You read the Quran, Surah Yusuf, and other surahs as well. And you'll find the verses talking about dream what? Interpretation. Clear on that? And Allah knows best. Fadal akhi.
I have a question related to the dream. If someone sees Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the dream, do we actually see him, or our mind just projects his face and his...
Clear. Question is regarding the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam seeing him in a dream. Is it literal? Do you really see him? Or will you just see a reflection of his image, etc.? There lies no doubt that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has told us, he who sees me has truly seen me. فَإِنَّ الشَّيْطَانَ لَا يَتَمَثَّلُ فِي صُورَتِي. He says, because shaitan never takes my image. We have in modern times, movies, games, we have things called shapeshifters. A shapeshifter. Someone who takes the form or shape of something else. That's an old, ancient concept. And from the things that do that are shayateen, demons, jinn. I saw my father. He came to me after he was dead. He spoke to me. He walked up to me. Person may not be lying. They may not be insane. They may not be mentally ill. They saw someone, something, but it wasn't the father. The father's in the grave. He's being questioned. He's being rewarded, or he's being punished. The person did see something. Something did come to him and speak to him, but it wasn't the actual thing that they thought. It was a jinn taking the form or the shape of something else. But the Prophet, he tells us that the shaitan can't do that with him because Allah honored him and protected him from certain things. So he who sees me in a dream has actually what? Seen me. However, you have to make sure that you actually saw the Prophet. That you actually what? Saw the Prophet. Celebrities, they have lookalikes. Presidents, leaders, dictators, they have doubles. They have people that they put in the front part of the parade in case someone wishes to assassinate them. In case someone wishes to poison their food, they have doubles to confuse the people. I saw him. You thought you saw him, but it wasn't him. And that's why they verify people's identity with a fingerprint, with this sample. They verify it because people look like each other. You may think that you saw something, but you were mistaken. So if you saw the Prophet in a dream, you thought it was the Prophet because of your subconscious. You were thinking about it, whatever the reason is. But the man was too tall for the Prophet's description. I saw the man, he was very tall. He had very long arms. He came and he stood over me. That wasn't the Prophet. You thought it was the Prophet, but it wasn't. The man was very, very, very short. He was so beautiful. He was so kind. That wasn't the Prophet's description. However the Prophet looked like or something that the Prophet said, the behavior of the Prophet is incompatible. So if you saw the Prophet and it's based off of the things that are accurately mentioned about how he looked and how he behaved and conducted himself, then Allah has blessed you to see the Prophet in a dream. But with the condition that you actually saw the Prophet in the accurate what? Accurate description. Last but not least, someone who says, I saw the Prophet in a dream and he told me what to do. He explained that I don't have to fast, I don't have to pray. We say that's false. The shaitan has been playing with you. And that's because if anyone had that honor and that gift, then it would be the companions. We know the companions, they fought after the Prophet. They had wars. They differed. They argued. There were many challenging times that the companions faced. Wouldn't it have been easy for the Prophet to just come in a dream and tell Abu Bakr what to do? Wouldn't it be easy for the Prophet to just say he's right and he's wrong? But that never took place and that never happened. So why are you so vain to think that Allah blessed you with something and he didn't give Abu Bakr or Umar? And these were the intimate cabinet of the Prophet, the closest of his friends. That's a great deal of vanity. That's a great deal of what? Vanity to think that you're that special. Allah gives you something that he didn't give the Prophet's closest, best of friends. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't make what? It doesn't make sense. So many people, they say things like that. Either they didn't see the Prophet, they're lying, it was the shaitan, or they may have a mental illness or sickness. But there's no person of deen, of sunnah, that needs these type of mystical things to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Real people do what? Real things. It's just that simple. There's no romanticizing of the religion. And Allah knows best. We've done a playlist some years back called Dream Interpretation and from Sahih Bukhari. Please go back to Hadith Disciple. We explained several chapters from Sahih Bukhari in which we talked about this issue in detail. seeing Allah in a dream, seeing the Prophet in a dream, what does that mean, etc. And Allah knows best. Wa yakum. Khairan, inshallah. If there are no more questions, we will stop. Thank you very much for your participation, for your patience. I know many of you brothers have been praying all night, fasting, standing. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept it all and bless you all. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa barak ala abdihi wa rasulihi nabina wa imamina Muhammad.